I'll jump in a little.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Just to, sorry I'm late, guys. I was on a meeting with Scott Wisemantle, and what Tim related to last time was on a meeting is that investing yourself, investing in your own career, and so since then I've been reaching out to other coaches to actually form a relationship. Obviously, I'm new to rugby union, so I've been reaching out to other coaches and doing a lot of webinars and Zoom meetings with Michael Checker and Scott Wisemantle and other people like that. And I've learned so much, just by having a chat with you guys. Going back to the point where the confidence in actually going up to someone after a game, and I always found that quite difficult. You know what I mean? Rugby was job. I was good at it, and I find it quite difficult to go up to someone. And if I did go up to someone, they always wanted it for free, especially in rugby league. It's not very. They've not got a lot of brass, but it is the confidence thing for me. But what I am quite good at is just talking to anyone, and whether it's a businessman or a player or another coach, I'm quite good at that. But I feel like I don't want to go up to them and talk to them because I feel like I'm sponging off them. I'm wanting something back, which is definitely not what I want to do. So that's the balance I've tried to find. Is I'm not talking to you because I want something off you. I'm talking to you because just for a chat. So that's where I'm coming from.
Well, Sean, I think it's quite common for sports people. And I'm privileged to work with all sorts of guys, and we've all said, yeah, we were actually pretty shit scared of being found out to be pretty ordinary. And that's where you've got this drive to not to let your mates down, let yourself down. And that's often, I think, a competency of just this willingness to work incredibly hard to prevent yourself or try to prevent yourself from failing. So you've done all that work, you've got all that experience on the field. If you go into a corporate box, you might think that what have I got to offer? I'm only this rugby lad, and this guy runs this great big business. He's sponsoring the whole ground. The idea is that if we've worked on the business of you, like, who am I? You'll realize that you've got all these skills and these competencies and these abilities that actually the bloke who owns the stadium is desperate for. So, and you've got a relationship there where it's a two-way street. I don't want you to feel like you're sponging off a bloke just for talking to him, Sean. I mean, he's talking to you, you're talking to him, you go into every relationship as equals. Treat other people as you want to be treated by, yourself. And just be honest and ask questions. One of the biggest lessons I learned, probably 10 years after I came out of rugby, was to start asking people for help. I was a bit maybe proud and wanted to solve all my own problems. But when I went to some of my trusted friends in the business world, they were desperate to help because they're decent people. And they weren't doing it, for money or for fame or to tell their mates that they were hanging out with a rugby player. They were doing it because they just wanted to be decent. And so I think it's really important that we respect our own abilities, we respect ourselves as people, even when we come out of the game. Because, all right, sometimes lads get carried away with their own arrogance or self-importance if they're man of the match and they're a star and they get sign autographs all the time. You come out of that world and you've maybe lost that adoration and you might lose your confidence. But the idea of this is if you're always investing in the business of you and you're on a journey and none of us are perfect at anything, but the idea is we keep asking questions. Every time we ask a question, we'll get a little bit more information, whether it's about how people view us or whether or not they think we've got the skills they need in someone for a job. It's all information, and we've got to be a sponge. We've got to be open-minded and humble, but certainly don't go into a corporate box as a former player feeling that you're not worthy, because this is the point. You've shown, what I say, all these characteristics of what we got on the screen here that makes you successful, and those same characteristics are your transferable skills that will make you very, very attractive to a future employer, provided you believe in yourself, you know how to communicate those skills and those competencies, and they happen to be someone you can feel you can learn from. It's as much for me as, what can you do for me as I can do for you? It's got to be a balance, otherwise it's not not a strong relationship that's going to last.
Can I just
So-
jump in there as well, Tim?
I
And I think the thing for me, Sean, is that also there's a common interest. They've turned up to your rugby club to watch rugby because they're interested in rugby. So there's actually a common theme you can go in on. But most importantly, I think as well, seek to be introduced rather than, because I know what you're saying is I walk into a room of 25 people. Oh my God, I've got to try and make conversation with someone. That's tough. And we can, and I can help you and I can help others with how to do that a little bit. But I still have nerves of approaching people in large groups because you feel like they're just going to stare at me and wonder why I've done that. But if you can be introduced by the club, if you can say, oh, I'd really like to meet the sponsor of or this person when they're next in. I did exactly the same at Leicester Tigers meeting 2 years ago, where I just said to the commercial lead, I said, oh, I'd really like to meet, I think it was Jordan at the time, because I wanted to talk to him about World After Sport and my thinking of it. And she said, oh, no problem. When he's done his Q&A, I'll bring him over. That made life a lot easier than me having to just walk up to someone and say, I want to talk to you. So if you thought to yourself, I want to talk to X sponsor or X business person that's at the club, then I would suggest there's a recommendation there to get introduced rather than you have to do the difficult bit. But just remember that there is that commonality. There is an instant conversation, which is just, hi, nice to meet you. Did you enjoy the game today? You know, but some small questions, some leading questions that start the ball rolling. And then you might say, oh, you know, tell me a bit about the business. So I've actually seen your business before. I'd like to learn a bit more about it. Can we talk a bit? You know, so again, what you're doing with the coaching staff is exactly the same approach, or very, very similar approach to some of these guys who you would approach out of sport as well.
And just when what happened, we talked with Tim last time, and you just mentioned it then about asking for help, and sometimes it's difficult to ask for help in it, really. But once I've spoken to Checker and Wisemantle and spoke to them and said, look, can you help me on my journey? I'm just starting on my journey. They was more than happy to just give me everything they had. And I was like, wow, just ask that one question. Can you help me out? They were so like, I was taken back by how much they gave me. And I was like, wow. So it's just, yeah, that really helped me.
Brilliant. And I'm pleased they did. And you'll find that is the norm. It is. We just don't think it is. We expect it to be an awkward conversation, like you were alluding to earlier. Absolutely, Sean. So, yeah.
Sorry, Martin.
Anyone else got anything?
Yeah,
Charlie.
So, kind of like on the asking for help point of view and using the network. So, I think my potential issue is, so I'm not going to sit and bullshit everyone. My career hasn't exactly gone the way I wanted. I didn't dream at 24 of being a championship rugby player. I was at 2 Premiership clubs. It didn't work out. I'm in the championship. I've actually chosen to leave Jersey for personal reasons. COVID happened. End of this month, I run out of contract. I haven't got anywhere sorted yet because of the pandemic. Like, that's the brutal honesty of my situation at the moment. I think my issue is I haven't maybe got the name value from my playing career so far of a Sean Long or a Serge Betts, and to maybe get my foot in the door. People go, oh, I know who he is. I'll give him the time to have the conversation, then try and get across who I am and the help I need or want to look for. So I think so for example, I'd really love to get involved in media because I love talking about rugby. Rugby is my passion, and I think I'm actually quite good at that stuff. I've hosted podcasts for clubs about and stuff like that. But I don't really know how to start that conversation because I'm nervous somebody will turn around and go, well, who the fuck are you? Like, why? Sorry, excuse the language, but why should we give you the time of day? Because I haven't got that name value. I'd back myself if I got my foot in the door to be able to convince someone that I'm worth helping and worth spending the time. But it's getting that initial conversation on people not knowing who I am from my playing career, that side of it.
I mean, I'm the least qualified on that for me, but my opinion, Charlie, is that's what World After Sport will help with, and where we come from is that we want to support athletes with that kind of challenge. We see our, let's call it, client base as being championship players, first teamers, more than maybe some of the England players or internationals, because they do tend to find that work gets thrown towards them a lot easier. But we want to support absolutely anybody and everybody in that. And I mean, for that example, I know TalkSport, for example, I've got a couple of names that I know quite well in that world. I could introduce you. I could ask them to offer you some advice and guidance. I could ask them to spend, if you can spend some time when isolation's done, and also maybe have some Zoom calls with you whilst they're in isolation as well, and offer some advice and thoughts on how you can get started in that kind of world. And again, that's, for me, Business of You is all about that.
Yeah, I think, Charlie, from what Longy just said a minute ago, if you asked any of us to do an interview with you, to do the podcast on World After Sport, to do it around how we feel around COVID, we're available, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So I might very well take you up on that. I've been quite fortunate I've been lucky that through clubs and ages, I've played with a lot of the boys who are currently playing for England, playing around. So I've actually got Lewis Ludlam today on Instagram Live. I've been using that to do like interviews and stuff. So I'm trying to build my portfolio through that. But like I say, for me, it is the initial part of, well, who the hell is Charlie Beckett? That's the bit I struggle with. When I'm sat there, I feel comfortable. It's just getting that first bit done.
Charlie, you come across as a really proactive, and I'm not being patronising, but a really great bloke. In 30 seconds, and I'm sure everybody on the podcast going, oh, his quality is, because you've got your head screwed on, and you're making positive, bold decisions for your life. And I think the point about World After Sport is to help you translate your abilities to make it viable, so you can go into wherever you want to go into this into the media world, and have a CV to smack them. It's not about, we know a badge like an England badge is a great, you get a little asterisk in the program and it opens the door. But when you're in the door, what have we got? We probably haven't had to graft as hard as you have to maximize your skills. I admire people who overachieve on their ability, more than the people that've got all the ability, but they toss it off. And they have a short, bright window, and then they get really upset. And I want to support those people as well. But I'd say that knowing how to build your CV, how to use your network, how to not undersell yourself. Mate, you've played at the top level of the game. And you've got every right to say, I've been an elite performer for probably 15 years of sacrifice that you've put in to be the player that you are. And the fact you haven't got the external recognition is the same as 99% of rugby players. The good news is most of the people I meet in business are failed sports people who weren't prepared to fail in life. Let's say, I'm not saying you failed. I'm coming across like
I get what you mean.
But you know what I mean? It's like, this is only the journey. This is like the 5, 10, 15-year bit at the start of our lives. We're going to be working another 40 years.
Yeah.
And it's about you seeing this. It's a bit of a dip in security, but it's an opening of an opportunity for you. And to have that, I mean, if you think about most of the population, to have been able to do what they're passionate about, to be able to played and travelled and now be potentially you've got to create yourself as like the thought leader and that on like podcasts and stuff. You can be a real star in the rugby world because of your relationships and because of your hard work. And I think people like Martin have helped me slow down, calm down, focus on the next step of the journey. Don't try and start 4 businesses all at the same time and panic. That's what I was doing. I was just, taking the money, paying the mortgage, looking after the kids. I didn't have chance to build a plan. And I think what I did with working with people like Martin and World After Sport was just to have give myself a break, build that core base and start investing in, okay, who can we call? Where are the 10 numbers that we can go to? What are the questions we've got to ask? And every day you can hopefully build your perceived value to the market you want to go into. And I think you're incredibly well placed with what you've already done. You're not like a punt, are you? You've already got proven ability where you've been able to deliver what it sounds like. So it's about maximizing the selling, if you like, of that brand and that potential. And making sure that any skill gaps or networking gaps you haven't got, we can help facilitate.
Thank you,
Can I chip in?
Yeah.
Very quick, and then I'll hand over to Alan to throw his 2 pence in as well. Is we want people to have a plan. The word plan is something you'll hear from us a lot. Life plan, performance plan, whichever way you want to call it. And the fact that you have an idea of where you want to go, the fact that you are 24, so you know, fingers crossed, we've still got 10 years of athletics still in us yet, at least, means that people like World After Sport can work with you step by step, small steps rather than great big ones when you're 32 and you're going, oh God, tomorrow's when I want to change. You know, and that's where Jonathan Davis was saying to us about 6 weeks ago is you need to have an idea of where you want to be at 31. Because when you're at 31, you know what your next steps are and you know where you want to get to. So the more time we can spend working out what your 31 years of age is going to look like, the better. So, you know, we are very, very keen to talk with people like yourself and say, you know, it is small steps. I don't want, you know, I wouldn't want you panicking going, oh God, next year is everything. We want to sit down with you, we want to work it through and go, right, but like Tim said, bite-sized chunks. What can I achieve in the next 6 months? What can I achieve in the 6 months after that? You know, going on a course and learning about business or learning about media or learning about anything is fantastic. Of course it is. But what are you going to do with it when you've got it? And I often see the RPA advertising an athlete has achieved a degree in something, which is brilliant. What next? Where do they take that career understanding and that education that they've just grasped? Because if you don't do anything with it for 5 years, you've wasted that education because you've forgotten about some of it. 2, you've not applied it. So therefore, an employer is going to say, but why wouldn't I recruit someone who learned last year or has just graduated because they've got it fresh? So
Alan, you were
we want to work with people effectively. Sorry, Tim.
Sorry, Alan was going to jump in.
And I was going to pass to Alan. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, just listening to Charlie there now, it's evident for me with sort of what you call this, you know, you as a business. I've done this for, like I say, for 20 years. And I always ask the question, what's your greatest asset? And they all say things like my house, my car, my salary, my way. I'm going, no, your greatest asset is you. And you, Charlie, have definitely got a huge asset there. You know, you're self-driven. You've got an idea. And that's what people got to realize. This is, I think, about the business of you. It's not somebody else's business. This is about the individual. No two individuals are alike. And it's brilliant, you know, just, you know, I shouldn't say it like this, but this isn't rocket science, but it's actually supporting the guys who want to progress and grow. And this is what we've said all along, you know, with rugby players, is that at the moment, and it's not everybody, but there's an element of I'm entitled to this, or no, give me this, or I want that, rather than, no, this is what I need. So I think, Charlie, exactly, just, you know, 20 seconds, 30 seconds of listening to you there now and going, this guy's got an idea, you've got a drive. Yeah, it'll take time, but with the network, and that, you know, somebody said to me the other day, 95% of jobs in today's society is gathered or gained by networking, not by a job advert, you know. So you know, and that's where the attributes of an athlete, of a coach, it's about learning. You know, Sean said it early on about, it is about confidence of asking, but no, you're interested in somebody, you're interested in somebody's knowledge. And you know, this is why, you know, like I said, it's not rocket science, but it needs that drive from somebody like, you know, World After Sport and the people around, because unless it comes from the individual clubs, like a head coach or a director of rugby who sees this as part of a player's growth, you know, we'll be talking, I guess, for the next 10, 15 years. And the other thing you said then, you know, Tim, about the degree and stuff like that, it's like, you know, I'd probably looked after 400 rugby players getting a degree. My first question to them every time is, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of that degree? And that's why you get people doing law, finance, marketing, because that's the interest they've got. You know, unfortunately, we put a lot of players in today's, you know, 20 will do a fitness trainer's course or a gym instructor's course. I'm going, why? Maybe only 2 or 3 of them actually want to become a gym instructor. The others just wanted to something to do, and it's good on my CV. So I think what you've got, Charlie, is that ability of, like, I've got this idea, I've got this passion. just use your network, and the more you experience, and you'll come across somebody who goes, come and work with me.
So let me.
But has anyone else got any thoughts? Has this been quite useful?
Yeah, it's been very useful for me. And one of you guys spoke before. I read a book recently, and it was, if you see a staircase there, which is quite high, it's quite daunting. It's hard to take the first step, but don't think about that. Take the first step, and then the next step will come after that. Even if you're not ready for that big, massive staircase, just take the first step. I think sometimes we're all in that situation. You know, you take that first step, whether you're ready to climb the staircase, but then take the next one, then the next one, then the next one, and then within how long you're going to be at the top. And it's just having the courage to take the first step on that staircase, and then things will follow. And that's what I'm learning as I go along.
Brilliant analogy, that, Sean. You're absolutely right. You know, and that's what I say when I say bite-sized chunks. Is, again, I might see a 14-inch pizza, which it looks a lot in front of me, but if I take the first bite, then I'll be all right. Much prefer pizza to steps, to be fair, but you know.
I prefer yours to mine.
One slice at a time.